and welcome to Popcorn Reading. Today we'll be reading Seductress by Just Spurky. Hello everyone, and welcome to the first non-humanized Mater and Holly one-shot lemon. Granted, this was very hard to write, but I am known for achieving the impossible. But really, it got awkward at times. ... I will be sharing with you my theory on how cars have sex that is loosely based around the Transformers theory. If you want, you may skip over it and just cut to the beginning of the story. The Transformers theory suggests that the cap in between the legs, parenthetical, I don't remember the actual name of it, but if you have seen Transformers 1, it's the thing that Bumblebee uncapped and peed on one of the Sector 7 guys. End parenthetical. The Transformers theory suggests that there are two tubes inside, one for lubricants and the other for reproduction. When mating with a female, the male Cybertronian would uncap the second tube, revealing a long, thin wire, similar to a car antenna. That would serve as what humans call a penis. The female would uncap her own cap, and the male would insert it in. Now, since we're dealing with the Cars universe, I have slightly altered it so as to fit better with the mechanics and workings of a car's body. My theory states that, like a transformer, a male car has a cap. This part of my theory is from when Lightning rushes into docks and sees Sheriff on the lift, which could mean that he saw the cap. And when Ramon was showing Minnie and Van his Von Dutch tattoo. As for the female part of the reproduction act, my theory for them is nothing I can base off from what I've seen in Cars 1 and 2, since all that is referenced to sex is from the males. Like when Holly went to retrieve the device off of Mater, because there is no reference to the female aspect of it at all. It is left mostly up to the imagination. Now, I highly doubt that the exhaust pipe would be how it would work. Frankly, I believe that is how the baby is delivered, since it would be easier for the midwife to help the female give birth. My theory is that, like Transformers, that there is a cap. Only, the cap does not contribute to the other bodily functions like the male genitals. Instead, there is a cap that is entirely different that would serve as a vagina of sorts. When the male ejaculates into the hole, it flows down into the inner workings of the body. It goes to the car version of a uterus. Parenthetical. If you want to read my theory on the pregnancy process of cars, then go to my DeviantArt page and read it in my journal entries. It's not up at present times, as I am still in the process of writing it. Okay, now that I have established my theory, we can get this show on the road. Disclaimer, I claim no right to the wonderful world that is Cars. That rightfully belongs to the Walt Disney Company and Pixar Animation Studios. I only own my Cars theory. Mater and Holly were enjoying a nice quiet day at Mater's home. After his little shack collapsed, Mater moved back into the house that he grew up in. It was a beautiful three-story townhouse. When Holly asked Mater why he moved out, he got all quiet, and so Holly had switched topics. They were currently parked in the living room watching Lightning race. The living room was spacious. It was painted a smooth blue color and had white flowers decorated around it. There were double French doors to their right that led out to a small garden. Mater had told Holly that in the spring that the whole side of the house would be covered in flowers. Holly's attention was drawn to the small swing that was in the shade of a large oak tree. She wondered if that had been Mater's favorite place to be. "Come on, McQueen," Mater shouted next to Holly, drifting her out of her daze. McQueen was currently rounding turn 4, his competitors 2 turns behind. "Wowee," Mater shouted as his best friend crossed the finish line. Holly smiled at her boyfriend. She nuzzled into his side, and Mater smiled down at the Jaguar. Holly loved Mater. Everyone knew that. but she was often asked why such a car as herself would be with a car such as him. But Holly didn't care what other cars thought. She loved Mater, and Mater loved her. She often found herself wondering if Mater had ever been with someone else besides her. When she would ask the townsfolk about her question, they would get silent and say that Mater didn't like talking about it. From that, Holly strived to try to be the perfect girlfriend, but as she and Mater grew closer, her needs grew too. She had moved in with Mater, and they slept together every night, but they never did anything. "Why are you so quiet, Holly?" Mater asked. Holly focused back into the present, now noticed the now turned-off TV, and her boyfriend looking worldly at her. "It's nothing, Mater," Holly said, giving him a reassuring smile. "I know something's wrong, Holly," Mater said. "Please, tell me." Holly searched his chocolate eyes for a moment before thinking up a plan. She smiled and rolled further, attaching her lips to Mater's. She smiled into the kiss and opened her mouth as Mater's tongue mapped out her mouth, like they have done so many times before. Holly extended her tire and placed it on the side of Mater's face, pulling him closer. Holly let out a small moan as Mater pulled his mouth away for air. "Holly," Mater said, staring down at the Jaguar. "I love you, Mater," Holly said, batting her windshield at her boyfriend. She could see that Mater was, if not already, mud in her tires. "I love you too, Holly," Mater said as his girlfriend attached their lips again. Mater let out a low groan as Holly playfully bit his lower lip. Holly's windshield was half shut, but she saw that Mater's eyes were fully closed as they kissed. Holly pulled away and put on her best seductive smile. "How about we continue this upstairs, Mater?" Holly said in a sultry voice. Mater's eyes grew wide, but one look into his girlfriend's alluring eyes, and he was helpless against her. Mater didn't respond, but followed Holly as she drove up the ramp, leading upstairs to the bedrooms. Holly smiled as she looked in her mirror, watching Mater follow her like a lost puppy. She drove past the only locked door in the house. Holly had always wondered what lay hidden behind the door that Mater didn't want her to see. She had often contemplated removing the door whenever she was alone, but she didn't want to disobey his trust, so she left it for him to tell her in his own time. Holly looked in her mirror again as she entered their bedroom. She did a 180 turn and was caught off guard when Mater placed his lips on hers. Holly smiled into the kiss, going slowly in reverse until she felt her back fender hit the wall. She raised herself a bit on her left side when Mater separated their lips. "Holly, are you sure you want to do this?" he asked, his eyes searching hers. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," Holly reassured her boyfriend. Mater nodded his hood and helped her onto her hood. "You okay?" Mater asked. "I'm fine," Holly assured her boyfriend as a swish sound made its presence known. It was the sound of her cap opening and fluids slowly leaking out of it. Mater took one less gulp of air before he hoisted himself on top of Holly as his own cap opened up. "Holly?" he asked in a quiet voice. "Yes, Mater?" Holly asked in a controlled tone. Every part of her body was aching for him. "Have you ever done it with somebody before?" he asked. Holly breathed out and spoke. "No," she replied. Mater nodded his hood. It's gonna hurt, Holly." "I know." Holly breathed out, extending her tires out as she felt him against her opening. Mater slowly extended his thick wire and placed it at her opening. He watched as tiny sparks flew around as he pushed more of his wire into her. "Oh," he heard Holly moan from underneath him. "Mater," she shouted as he came to her wall. Mater took a deep breath before pushing his wire through the wall, Holly screaming below him. "You okay, Holly?" he asked her. "Just give me a moment, Mater," Holly said in between panted breaths. She moved around on her hood and better situated herself. She felt Mater place sweet kisses on her as he let her have her time. She felt his tires on her sides as they gently massaged hers. "Okay," Holly said, giving Mater the green light to go. Mater continued to slowly reel his wire in and then slowly push it back in, finding a strange enjoyment in hearing Holly mutter incoherent words under her breath. "Faster," Holly commanded as Mater thrusted his wire faster inside of her. "Mater!" she shouted as he felt his wire being covered in her fluids. With one final grunt, Mater felt the fluids running down his wire and exiting into Holly. The two cars panted for what seemed like years. Mater had reeled in his wire and closed his cap, Holly doing the same. Mater took a second before he carefully rolled off of Holly and helped her to her wheels. She smiled at him and connected their lips. "Thank you, Mater," she said, as Mater smiled his goofy smile. The two cars stayed like that for a while, before they both fell asleep. Thank you for listening to another exciting episode of Popcorn Reading. If you'd like to see more content, feel free to like this video or subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below if you have any suggestions for further reading. Thank you.